do not have all the answers yet. Today is the start of a journey. But this is Europe's man on the moon moment. The European Green Deal is very ambitious, but it will also be very careful in assessing the impact and every single step we're taking.
A European Green New Deal? Ja, das ist sehr gut. Here we have Ursula von der Leyen. Guten Tag. Talking about the need for a European Green Deal. Ja. The European Commission President. She is very precise and very committed to lowering the rate of CO2 in the world by making sure that you don't have too many cow fart or you ride too many bicycles with the little motors on them, motorbike. What you know what I mean? I messed up a bicycle thing, but you get the idea. Now Europe's in this thing too, a Green New Deal. Oh, let's all just jump into this insanity. If you look at the CO2 emissions from, say, China and India over the last 20 years, going up, and not going to stop anytime soon. The U.S. has actually gone down since the year 2000, and no one seems to care. No one seems to care about a few things. One, that we're doing more than the other primary CO2 emitters. Two, that it doesn't matter what we do if they don't do a whole lot more than they're doing in India and China. And three, this is all crazy. CO2 is not a problem. It's not. It's just not. I wish there were ways. I wish there were ways to bet on these things effectively. I wish there was a market where I could say that the predictions of the climate change. There is a market. It's called, for example, the beachfront housing market. It has not budged because of climate change. Oh, it's all going to be underwater. Nope, 30-year mortgage. You're not getting a good deal on that beach house in Florida or in California or you name it. Martha's Vineyard. You ever been to Martha's Vineyard, Brandon? It's pretty amazing. You know what's nice in the Martha's Vineyard, though? I'm just going to say it. Nantucket. It's like a little mini Martha's Vineyard, but it's even cooler. Martha's Vineyard is very, very nice. I used to go there. I went to a beach, I will tell you. I was brought there by my college girlfriend. And the beach was, in fact, a beach that you needed a key to access. And let me tell you the most interesting part of that beach, Brandon. It was a nude beach. And it's true.
Did not
hey, you know
expect that.
You know what the reality of a nude beach is? It's not what people, they hear nude beach, they're like, yeah, they think it's like going to be a Budweiser commercial,
like
but
all naked men, like old men.
I saw some people on the naked beach in the vineyard, and there was not a single one of them, I think, under the age of 60. So, we were all very free. We were very free at the naked beach. There's a lot of breeze, the sea salt, air. But no, it's not what you think it's gonna. It's definitely not a beer commercial out there. I can tell you that.
A different meaning to Freedom Hut, I'm sure.
It's the super free Freedom Hut. Yeah, that's what it was. But I do remember being there. That was a. Did I wear a bathing suit or not? See, this is the problem. When you go to naked beach, and if you don't go naked, now you're kind of the weird. Now you're the weirdo. Now you're the jackass. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Why are you hiding?
Exactly. And it's kind of like.
Why are you hiding?
Yeah, there's that too. And there's nothing to hide at the naked beach. You just let that sea breeze blow all over the place. I think producer Nick is like, "What the hell are you doing?" He's got a fair point, but I'm just telling people there is a naked beach in Martha's Vineyard. But you gotta only special people are allowed to go. You gotta have a key, you gotta be invited. I know some people. So I went to the naked beach. Oh, what are we talking about? Real estate. I'm talking about coastal real estate. Sometimes, I get a little caught up in these. Also amazing restaurants in the vineyard in Nantucket. And it's where all the fancy, super rich, journos and media types and all that's where they all go. If you want to see where like Chris Matthews and, I don't know, probably Anderson Cooper, and they go to the Hamptons. It's the Hamptons, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard. But you're not going to get a good deal on oceanfront property in any of those places, despite the warnings from the climate change alarmists that we're all going to be underwater in those areas, and the terrible things. The wets are going to get wetter, the colds will get colder, the hots will get hotter. This is amazing stupidity. I'm kind of stunned that people really waste so much emotional and intellectual energy on something that's so obviously preposterous. But speaking of obviously preposterous and a waste of intellectual energy, let's talk about Elizabeth Warren for a moment, shall we? I thought this was this is one of these moments where, I don't know who's really at fault here. Is it the policy advisor that nobody's ever heard of who decides that she's going to have to, or who has to answer a question that nobody would have a really good answer for? Or is it the person that she's supposed to be speaking on behalf of, in this case, Elizabeth Warren, who, let's be real about this for a minute, wouldn't be able to answer this question herself, really? Well, I believe we should have a foreign policy where the corrupt and the rich aren't able to just run everything. My daddy was a mailman. My mom was a homemaker. I grew up thinking I was Cherokee. There's all this stuff. Elizabeth, it's always the same. Oh, I'm so folksy. I have this kind of uniform. I wear all black except for my little sweater. A colorful sweater. Adds a bit of flair. When you used to go to work, Brandon, back in the day, did you ever wear 32 pieces of flair? Did you go with the minimum 32 pieces of flair, or did you actually want to express yourself?
I just watched that this weekend.
Did you really?
Office Space.
I didn't know that, and yet here we are talking about it. That's one of the better moments, because we've all had that. Lumbergh is the best character in the movie, by the way.
Sure.
Because that degree of soulless passive-aggressive exists in office culture in so many different places, and it's very, you know that the guy is crushing your life and your very being with his annoying bureaucratic requests and his complete lack of respect for you as a human being. But unless he's being like abusive or, it's very hard for you to do anything about it. Yeah. Unless you just show up wearing flip-flops and you're like having a meeting with the two Bobs.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah. I'm going to come in on Sunday. Yeah. Lumbergh is amazing. That means he's the best thing, I think, in the whole. Some people like Milton Adams or whatever. He's okay, but Lumbergh is a character for the age. Because we've all had I at the CIA, I had a person just like Lumbergh. Just like Lumbergh in terms of that approach.
I've had program directors like that.
I'm sorry. You wanted to go, oh, you think you're going away for the weekend with your girlfriend and see your family? Oh, no, someone has to stay here and fill out useless reports all weekend. Oh, I've had that. It's terrible. Yeah. Person didn't really sound like that, but that's what I heard. It's like the mom from I was going to say the Brady Bunch, Charlie Brown. You know what I'm talking about. So,
yeah, the teacher from the Peanuts.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I was going to talk to you. That's right, the teacher from Peanuts. Is it the teacher from Peanuts? Yeah, or I thought it was the mom. No, there's the mom from Bobby's World. There's a teacher from Peanuts. I'm mixing my cartoon characters here.
Okay.
All right, sorry. Brandon's on point. I'm getting a little confused. Let's get back to foreign policy, shall we? No, you can't. Don't run away from the board op Brandon, as well as producer Brandon. We got to have you, because this is what happens when you ask Elizabeth Warren's campaign staff. You ask them, why is her foreign policy going to be different from any of these other pseudo-commie foreign policies out there with these Democrats? And here's what gets said. Please play 7.
Listen, I think Senator Warren is uninterested in sort of criticizing fellow Democrats, but what she believes is that it won't be enough for us to just turn the clock back to pre-Trump and sort of go about business as usual. She believes that we need to have fundamental shifts, not only in our foreign policy, in our policies writ large, but to use foreign policy as an example, so that our foreign policies are actually benefiting and resonating with working Americans. And that's not nibbling around the edges. And I think that is one of the things that makes her distinct.
That's amazing, by the way. Even producer Brandon's kind of like chuckling a little. It's amazing. That is the most fantastic talking head spokesperson non-answer answer to a question. I mean, they should study that in schools about non-answers from people that work for political campaigns here. It's like, we're not going to turn the clock back and have business as usual. We're going to have fundamental shifts and change foreign policy writ large by bring it back to working people. She just does this whole, it's just like, It's like paint by numbers. It's foreign policy answer by numbers. And never trust anybody who uses the term writ large and doesn't make fun of themselves for it. All right. It's a DC tell. Everyone in DC always says, well, writ large. They also love to say close the loop, circle back. They love to say, writ large is the big one. Optic, from my optic. Have it just my perspective or from how I see it, or just say the thing. Don't have to be like, from my optic. These are things this is DC speak. And people that go to places like, international relations master's programs, which is pretty much, I'm sure, what you need to be the policy advisor for Elizabeth Warren on foreign policy. But I've never heard of this person before. But her answer was just amazing. Because one, she didn't have an answer. You could tell. She goes, well, first let's make sure that, because she was asked, how is Elizabeth Warren's foreign policy different from the other Democrat candidates? And, first I just want to make sure that we're not, bashing us. She's stalling. And look, I do a ton of TV and radio and things. You guys all know this. So I know the ins and outs of this back. I mean, I have trained people. In fact, there are people that now host things at Fox that I trained how to do TV, but that's a story for another time. And they're friends of mine. I mean, I'm so happy that they've done so very, very well. But I mean, I could train. I mean, am I the old aging samurai warrior of media that does not want to teach everybody the skills because I cannot trust them to use them for good? But when I do raise that katana sword, it is as a true master. The answer is yes. Although, do samurai carry katana? No, do they have katana swords? Is that only ninjas? Haven't you watched the 80s ninja movie recently? You're my pop culture. You and producer Mark are here to make sure that I know the things.
I'm not sure. I mean,
can you please find it? Do samurai carry? I cannot lead the audience astray on an issue of martial prowess and ninja skills. So I need to know if he's like running the board doing all these things. And I love throwing these little stupid tasks like, hey, do samurai carry katana swords? They call it something else. Anyway, I understand how the game works, especially when you're asked a question, that you don't have a good answer to. The first thing, is that right? What do they carry?
Well, according to the internet, samurais traditionally carried two tempered steel swords, the katana.
Bam!
For fighting, and I can't even
Boom.
pronounce this. It's a
touchdown.
A 12-inch dagger. I can't pronounce how it's actually.
How's it spelled?
Wakizal. Wakizai.
Well, I have no idea. I don't know what that is.
Wakizashi. Wakizashi.
That's awesome. That would also be a cool name for a band in Williamsburg. The Wakizashi.
Or a Pokemon, sure.
Okay. Yeah, the little sword. Yeah, long sword, little sword. I know that stuff. Okay, so now that we've established what ancient samurai carried, in case you need to know, this is a perfect encapsulation of when people don't have an answer in foreign policy, or don't have an answer to something, and they just want to talk. They just want to discuss and sound. They want the listener to think that this is a smart person without the person understanding, the listener understanding that whoever's giving this answer is just completely like making it up as they go along. Like that's really the goal here. That's the real goal of this. And that was a particularly good example of it. We're just going to do business. We're not going to do business as usual. We're going to have fundamental shifts, and we're going to writ large turn back to foreign policy that works for working people. Brendan, what does that even mean? Like, do people sit around in Kansas saying to themselves like, well, clearly if we did just a little bit more to get this, agreement going in Latin America that will figure out the realities of law enforcement for the tri-border region, I'll be able to pay my bills more effectively. I don't think so. There are some foreign policy matters where Main Street neither cares nor should care. But I just love this, though. It's just to spin the talking points together. Whoever is you, I salute you, Sasha Baker, for giving the most amazing non-answer answer I have heard in quite some time. That was a lot of fun. I might break my no movies in the theater rule once again, because I did go see Joker, which I thought was worthwhile and I enjoyed, and I liked the way that not just the way that they executed the story, but that they made it interesting. They added layers to an area, the Batman franchise. They added things to it that fit and that were cool, that made sense. And then, of course, there's just the human exploration of evil and really just, psychosis and the descent into evil. And it was very, very interesting. So then we go to this Richard Jewell movie, which I think I'm going to have to check out. Here's actual... Now, this is the Olympic Park bomber situation. I'm going to have to dig into this story a bit more. And you know what, Producer Brandon? It would be fun to maybe try to get some people from the movie. I mean, I don't think Clint Eastwood would do the show easily. I mean, he would love the show if he listened to it. I mean, Clint and I would be very simpatico, obviously. But we should get somebody, if we can, to come on and talk about this. Because here's how I know I want to see the Richard Jewell movie. Libs hate it. So then it's got to be good, I used to have a teacher back in the 4th grade who'd say, if it's black and white, it's got to be good. That was which, by the way, is not true. Not true, that's right. I refuse to bow to the black and white movie propaganda that says that, if it's an old movie. No, most old movies had indicating instead of acting, had cheesy dialogue. I know. Send me your, Buck, what about, Gone with the Wind or whatever your favorite. And there's some good ones, North by Northwest. I've seen them. I took film class. But most old movies are boring and lame, okay? Sometimes I want to see a ninja fight and, some guys drinking too much and maybe some stuff happening with some ladies and not a lot of clothing on. I'm just saying, this is, it's entertainment, folks. It's supposed But where was I? I have no idea what Brandon, we just crossed the streams. I don't even remember what was. Richard Jewell.
Yeah.
Are you planning to go possibly see this movie? Would you check it out?
I would like to see it. I don't know if I want to pay for it. It's not exactly a date movie.
Is it?
I mean, it could be, I guess.
Well, there's a big problem because the reporter, and it's based on real people, the reporter in it, they take some dramatic license, and the reporter sleeps with I believe, either law enforcement or somebody else. I haven't seen the movie yet, as a source. And all the now people are upset because the journalist actually passed away. She's not around to protect herself, and that looks... Because it's based on a real person, but I thought what was interesting is you also know these journalists who are like, that never happens. Oh, yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Journalists sometimes get a little close to the source. Biographers get a little close to the source. Hello, General Petraeus. Things happen. Things happen. I just thought it was so funny that in their haste to bash this one aspect of the movie that they said, of course, they said it's sexist. It's a sexist trope that a female journalist would sleep with a source and all this stuff. And then there was that guy who I think is facing prison time from the Senate Intelligence Committee for sleeping with a New York Times journalist he was given information to. That's just one that comes to mind, and that was like 2 years ago. So, but I want to just give you some of Richard Jewell's actual testimony. Hold up. So the Richard Jewell movie is out, I believe, or about to be out. It's Clint Eastwood directed. I think Clint Eastwood's done some great stuff recently. I really enjoyed Gran Torino a lot. I think it's a very good movie for what it is. I thought The Mule was a little contrived and kind of boring, to be honest with you. I really didn't like The Mule very much as a movie, but I did think Gran Torino was excellent, and I thought American Sniper was excellent. So Clint has done some fantastic work, lots of fantastic work. But here's the real Richard Jewell testifying back in 1996. Remember, this guy, there was this bombing in the Olympic Park, and his name was leaked by the FBI to the media. And then, even though it was clear to the FBI early on that this guy really didn't do it, they kind of kept putting him through the ringer. Play clip 9, please.
Before you today, not as a Republican or a Democrat. I have no political agenda. I come before you simply as an American citizen with rights just like everybody else. 1 year ago today, the FBI and the media joined together to launch an attack on me of unparalleled proportion in the history of this nation. An attack calculated to portray me to the world as some type of abnormal person with a bizarre employment history who was guilty of the Centennial Olympic Park bombing. It was all a lie. 2 days ago, the Justice Department issued a written report about its investigation into a few of the unlawful acts committed by the FBI in its investigation of me.
You already pick up on this, I'm sure, but this movie comes at a particularly opportune time, given that it deals with FBI malfeasance, given that it deals with what is clearly an FBI that sometimes cares way too much about the press narrative, cares about the political pressure around their work. So, in a sense, this has been a problem for a long time, and nothing really ever changes. I think what's gone on now with the FISA abuse and the deep state coup against Trump, I think that's all much worse. But at least this is a way of remembering that FBI, whether it's this, Waco, Ruby Ridge, you look at some of these different situations, high-profile situations the FBI has been involved in, and we all understand that there's going to be mistakes that are made, but there are mistakes, and then there's, hold on a second, this is crossing a line. This is also a continuation here of what Richard Jewell had to say. Play clip 10. This is that same testimony.
While I have not had an opportunity to study the OPR report in detail, I did read a redacted summary yesterday. I submit to you that the Justice Department cannot be trusted to investigate itself because that report is also a lie. It is filled with false statements, half-truths, and gross distortions of the truth. Reading it reminded me of reading the FBI search warrant affidavits against me. Apparently, truth to the Justice Department is simply whatever the Justice Department wants the truth to be. Within a few days after my name was leaked to the media, the FBI knew that it had a public relations disaster on its hands. The organization that prided itself on being the best investigative agency in the world had quickly, and with the world watching, pointed the federal government's finger of guilt at the wrong man. And they knew it within days. Not only did the FBI accuse the wrong man, its agents in Atlanta and officials in Washington actively participated in publicly humiliating me.
Pretty haunting stuff to hear, given what's gone on this last week, what we found out, isn't it? Here we have someone who did nothing wrong and whose name was leaked to the media and turned into a media circus, and he was destroyed. His reputation, his ability to earn a living. I mean, there's so much damage that was done to this fellow, and it was because of many of the same reasons that we see damage done today when law enforcement is far too close to the press and they're chasing a similar story, whatever that may be, instead of where the facts lead them. So I couldn't help but listen to that Richard Jewell testimony and think, wow, has there really been any reform within the FBI? Have things gotten better in any meaningful way since then? And keep in mind that was 1996. That was before 9/11. And the stovepiping of intelligence between the CIA, the FBI, and other national security agencies. We, of course, have to hold them to standards, have to hold these different government actors to standards that are fair. We can't ask them to be perfect, but we also can't allow them to be incompetent and, even worse, malicious. We've definitely seen incompetence with this whole FISA abuse. I think we've also, beyond reasonable doubt, seen maliciousness. And that has to be rooted out stem and branch.
It's time for roll call.
All right. You heard the man. It's time for roll call. Hey, listen to the Buck Sexton Show, where we all do radio voices. Brandon, what do you think? Could I be a DJ on WWKKRXTUV? Hey, playing the greatest hits of the 90s, the 2000s, and some stuff from 1945 just because we feel like mixing it up.
As long as you hit the post, you're hired.
What does that even mean?
Oh, so you don't know yet. You got to. It's the intro to a song. You know, when you're kind of talking over the instrumental, and as soon as you're done talking, that's when the lyrics kick in.
Ah. All of a sudden, Padawan becomes Obi-Wan over here. Yeah, no, I didn't know anything about this. It's called Hit the Post. Is that when you do the, like, so the song starts playing and you're like, and now step into a warm bath of jazz. And, like, it's playing or no?
I don't know if you would do it over jazz because there's not much lyrics. But if you hear,
Okay.
I'm getting all nerdy about it. Well, not technically.
No. Let's get to we want to learn. I mean, if this whole like talk radio thing doesn't work out, maybe I get to be a DJ.
I mean, if you're introducing like a Taylor Swift song per se,
Right?
You know, and there's
which I would love to, because T Swift and I, there's something there.
A 14-second intro before she starts singing about whatever boy broke her heart. So you're talking for 14 seconds, and as soon as you're done, she comes in. You ever wonder on the radio, people the DJs time it out so well?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. You got to hit the post.
Got to hit the post. All right, that's cool. I did not know that. That's kind of fun. I do remember when I used to tape radio off, like tape it with a a cassette.
Yeah.
And I would hate because like I wanted just the music, because I wanted to basically steal the music for myself.
Yeah.
Back in the pre-MP3 days. And they would have the guy be like, hey, like, get your tickets for blah, blah, blah. And, and they'd be talking over it.
Sure.
And I was like, no, I do not want to work out to DJ whatever his name is. DJ, disc jockey. Quite a term that's gotten a lot of usage if you think about it over all the years.
For sure. And it's also sacrilegious in classic rock because you're not supposed to talk over the iconic guitar solos or riffs at the beginning. I once got yelled at by talking over the beginning of Stairway to Heaven.
I was about to say, if you talk over Stairway, do you get in trouble?
I got yelled at in my youth. I was it's such a long intro before Robert Plant
so you got
starts
that
singing.
super long intro. You can't just be like, who's got his own Stairway to Heaven? Producer Brandon. That's not, no, that you're not allowed to do that, huh? All right, well, learn something new. Hit the post, though. We got to work that in. Got to figure that out. All right, I'm sorry. I said roll call. I know, I wasn't. I get distracted. I'm trying to leverage Producer Brandon's rock DJ. By the way, Producer Brandon, I'm saying it now on air so that we don't forget. Tomorrow we are going to talk about your podcast, which is for those who are serious metalheads out there or rock aficionados, whatever your preferred terminology may be, is about. Well, what is it? Just give them the one-liner, pray see, and we'll get to it.
I appreciate Appetite for Distortion. So if you like anything Guns N' Roses and fits in with our 6 degrees of GNR Bacon instead of Kevin Bacon, that's what we talk about.
Guns N' Roses and everything related to the world thereof. All right, cool. We got that. Team Buck emails. Let's do it. teambuck@iheartmedia.com. Harry writes, veggie eaters. Let's see. Hey, Buck, my stepdaughter was vegetarian from about toddler to about 16. During high school, she would come home and sleep for a couple hours, totally exhausted. She changed her mind and began eating a couple fast food burgers on the way home every day. She stopped crashing when she got home. Her levels of energy increased. She became less surly. Eat critters. Humans need B vitamins, which are hard to get otherwise. By the way, I read that otters link arms so they don't float away from each other and get lost. Otters are my wife's favorite creatures from her time in Alaska. Shields high, Harry. Well, Harry, thank you. There's a lot of anti-otter propaganda out there. A lot of people say mean things about how otters make little otters, for example. Like there's a whole, no, I'm being serious. There's a whole thing about how they're very, aggressive and they're evil because of what they do to, I'm just saying, there's an otter patriarchy, basically. That's a bad thing, from what I'm told. Michelle. Good day, sir. Well, this is something else. This is an invitation to go speak somewhere. Let's not get into that. Kevin writes, Sir Buck, it's a pleasure to listen to the broadcast. It's a sad day. Oh, yeah, by the way, if you do want me to come speak at your, meeting of Great American Patriots or the Rotary Club or like whatever you got going on, just go. You can send it into this inbox and we'll see it. So people like to have the Buckster come and speak. I'm a fantastic live speaker, by the way. Fantastic. Not gonna lie. Fantastic live speaker. Kevin writes, Buck, it's a pleasure to listen to the broadcast. It's a sad day when Time Magazine awards, which should be a well-deserved award to a petulant child. It was only a matter of time, however, given the credence they gave to David Hogg. Tell me, how can one be underwritten as a survivor when said survivor wasn't even at school at the time? Impeachment-wise, I hope McConnell drags the hearings out as long as possible. Expose them all, including Obama, Loretta Lynch, the whole troop. I hope you and the staff have a blessed holiday season. Shields high. Kevin from Omaha, listening on KFAB, one of our wonderful affiliates out there in the great state of Nebraska. Shout out to all KFAB Omaha. You guys rock. Here we go. Fiona. Oh, yeah. Producer Nick just wrote, the truthfulness of Hogg not being at school is questionable. Thank you. I didn't know. So thank you, Producer Nick, for the fact check there. Producer Nick is he's like the eye in the sky for us, but he's not actually in the studio with us, so that's why you don't hear me talk. Although it would be fun, Producer Nick, since you are like the almighty and you see all, maybe we could create a way to sometimes have you be able to pipe in from the remote location, the bunker, the Freedom Bunker where you are currently. Just a thought, man. Just a thought. But you and Producer Brandon could talk about the best rock bands of all time. Is punk rock its own genre of rock, or should it just be in the greater rock pantheon, for example? I'm trying to start some stuff here. Was that a good one? Is that a thing that people fight over? And I probably just made that up. I don't know.
I think you made it up.
Yeah. All right, Fiona. All right, I'm a transgender person and support our president. Oh, nice. Thanks, Fiona. I feel that more LGBTQ should support our president and can't understand why they don't. When I ask my community members what POTUS has done to disparage us or what policy he's enacted that takes gay rights away, they draw a blank. Now that we're on the precipice of impeachment and Mike Pence is on deck, I think it's more important than ever to try to reach the LGBTQ members. Peace, baby, Fiona. Well, Fiona, I'm very pleased. It's nice to have somebody, not just who's LGBTQ. We do have a lot of folks from that community who listen to the show and who write in, but specifically someone who's trans and appreciates what we do here. Welcome. Welcome to Team Buck, and thank you for listening. And as for your point here, I totally agree. Trump is he's in no way anti-gay. He's not anti-LGBTQ, and he's the first president. He was holding up the gay pride flag on stage during campaign events, proudly holding it up on stage. Do you think the media ever said, oh, wow, I guess he's... No, of course, because there's such deep roots to this, but, identity politics on the left are always a means to an end, and so it doesn't matter if somebody is good to one particular group within the identity politics world, because all the way the left brings us up, all those identity politics groups have to work together against the other, and the other in this case is, conservative, traditional Christian patriarchy, et cetera, republicanism, conservatism. So you're not allowed to deviate from that. So even if somebody's the greatest friend ever as president to the gay and lesbian community, for example, it doesn't matter as far as much of the left, or as far as the left is concerned, because it's about mobilizing that community for other purposes. This is classic Alinsky. It's about mobilizing the LGBTQ community, not just for their own rights, but for all the rest of the left-wing agenda. So it's not allowed to be identity politics policies a la carte. They do not allow that. That is a distinction. So anyway, Fiona, thanks for writing in. RC writes, Buck, wondering if you read your mail aside from at the end of your show. If so, do you have time or interest in chatting? Thanks. Randy. Randy, yeah, I read all the mail that I can, everything that comes in pretty much. He has kind of an interesting little thing at the bottom here. Shields high, sweep low, thrust once, drink black rifle, stand and repeat. All right, cool, Randy. Thank you, man. Thanks for listening to the show. Let's see. So many emails coming in. Oh, good heavens. How do we get to them all? There's so many hundreds and hundreds of saying, oh, but I'm from Team Buck and I have important things to say today on the show. Dan writes, Buck, why is nobody talking about the similarities between the Daniel Ellsberg wiretap in 1972 and Trump's Spygate 2016? People were imprisoned for that. Well, Dan, why don't you write in with more detail, my man, so I can read it on the air? But very few people, I think, today that are having conversations about Spygate even remember what happened back in the Ellsberg era in 1972. So it's incumbent upon us, those who do have some knowledge of it or do have some understanding of the history here, to remind everybody about that and bring it all to the fore. So Team, that is going to be the show today. Hope you're enjoying it. If you haven't already, please do check out Pluto Channel 248, The First. You can watch what goes on here in the Freedom Hunt. It's a great way to catch up on the show, enjoy the show from your smartphone anywhere, anytime. And until next time, which is tomorrow, shields high.